Remember being a kid and watching Saturday morning cartoon blocks like Foxbox or 4Kids? They were a big part of my childhood and existed for years before their eventual cancellation in the early 2010s. Aside from the charm of the block's branding and of course the variety of cartoons that were aired, another piece of the pie involved the promotions they used to run. One of the most common examples of the contests I remember Foxbox running were chances to win money. They'd have you watch the entirety of the block and occasionally air 4 words or numbers all throughout the morning. By the end, you'd form a phrase or number combination to enter into the website and you'd be entered to win a cash prize for the week. I remember trying this a couple times, but I never ended up winning. Though even if I did win, I would argue cash is nothing compared to the prize of an old 1990s contest that Fox Kids held. Now, I was way too young to have even been exposed to this contest at the time, so my introduction to it came from the Lost Media Wiki forums, in a very small thread that otherwise ended up as a dead end. Regardless, the details about this contest are pretty rich, and instantly caught my attention. The story goes like this. In 1996, Fox Kids held a contest in conjunction with Sega, where viewers could essentially send a video game pitch to Sega, and if your pitch was selected, you could visit Sega's headquarters to participate in the creation of the game you pitched. Unsurprisingly, no one in the thread was able to find any details about it, and the consensus sort of stands at no real game coming from the contest, outside of the winner probably getting a tour of Sega HQ and maybe a Chris Houlihan situation. Well, just from reading this brief thread, I'm very intrigued by this mystery. Who was the winner and what kind of content came out of this contest? These are questions I want to find the answer to, and that means it's time to begin the internet hunt. As I said before, no one was able to find any details about this contest in the Lost Media Wiki thread, though there are still a couple of sources that were linked there that we should check out. The first one of note is this article from the website Something Awful, although I'm mentioning it now more so to get it out of the way, as it's not actually going to help us with the search. This site is a satire and comedy website, so strangely enough an author of the site had caught wind of this contest and created a fake article about how he was the winner and made a game about divorce. After reading through the article, there's just nothing realistic about it, and at the very end the second image is an edit of Home Alone for the Genesis, so that's enough to debunk this whole thing as fake. But if you're wondering where on earth this guy could have heard about the contest from if it's so rare and obscure, well that takes us to our second mention of it online, which is much more important. On YouTube, there's actually a TV commercial that advertises the contest. The commercial goes on to describe the basis of the contest, which we're already pretty familiar with, but listening to the details more closely, it does change the prize a little bit. So we were under the impression that the winner of the pitch would get that idea turned into a game, when the words in this commercial actually say the winner would help crank out a new Sega game, not exactly their own Sega game. Additionally, near the end of the commercial, it says the winner would receive a credit in the manual. So all in all, it seems like the idea behind this contest was for the game pitch to act as a way for a winner to be selected, and that winner would just watch developers produce a real Sega game, resulting in the winner's name in the manual. And it actually makes more sense the contest was set up this way, because a credit in a manual is definitely something more likely to fall into obscurity than an actual full new game. So yeah, it does sound more like a Chris Houlihan situation now, though still just as interesting. I'd like to know who won and which game's manual they received credit in. So now it's time to turn to the lead from the commercial, McWorld. Something that the Lost Media Wiki thread did not discuss is how this contest, along with all of the other Fox Kids contests at the time, were run through McWorld, the kids club of McDonald's. This is a pretty important piece of information because my first thought with this lead is that there could be some mention of the winner or even the contest itself on the old McKids website. A simple pop by the Wayback Machine should give us our answer or not. Although unfortunately, I couldn't find any mention of the contest at all. This was probably due to the fact that it was running for such a brief point in time and there were hardly any captures for 1996. Simply put, this same issue arose when I trekked back to the Fox Kids site itself. It became pretty apparent that no trace of this contest was going to be accessible through public resources like website captures. And that meant it was time to think a little outside the box and contact real people, even though this process has its pros and cons. Something to consider when searching for pretty much anything is that at one point in time, a human being created, was involved in, or was associated with any instance of lost media. Someone somewhere thought of this contest, pitched it, conducted it, selected a winner, and flew them out to Sega's HQ. This happened and real people were involved with it, so we just need to find those actual people. But that's where the difficulty comes in. How exactly are we going to find people associated with this brief and borderline non-existent contest? At first I was thinking about taking an approach to find the winner of the contest, or another entrant who may have been following it. Perhaps this was discussed on a random Sega forum at one point in time, but nothing outside of the YouTube ad and the fake article were showing up, no matter how I formatted my search. So, I decided that shifting focus from the contest participants to the contest moderators was the way to go. The new goal became finding the Fox Kids employee who set up the contest and made relations with the companies associated with it. And that was no easy task, especially since I really didn't know how Fox Kids ran their company or what kind of event planner I was looking for. Well, after a little bit of looking around, my first hit involved a Fox Kids promotion manager from 2001, describing the exact kinds of contests that I was looking for. Unfortunately though, 2001 is way too far off the 1996 mark, but I was headed in the right direction. After an hour or two more of tweaking my search terms, narrowing in on specific areas of Fox Kids, I found the gold I was looking for. I ended up finding the LinkedIn profile of someone named Lee Adams, whose resume states he worked at Fox Kids as a manager who oversaw production of contests, promotions, and campaigns from 1994 to 1998. That description perfectly fits the kind of person I'm looking for, and 1996 falls perfectly in the timeline. If there was ever a guy who could help me with this search, it would be him. But of course, there's another step to this process, because while I finally found a name, now I need to find a way to contact him. And that was another struggle. One of the weirdest things about lost media hunting is the privacy contacts have or don't have. There have been people in the past who have active accounts on every social media platform out there. Meanwhile, there are people like Lee who have absolutely nothing. I found this especially shocking when he is listed as the Chief Executive Officer of Toon Goggles Inc., so I had to come up with more creative ways to reach him. I noticed some connections Lee had with former colleagues, so I took a shot in the dark and sent a message to one of them, just saying I was trying to reach Lee. This was about 2 months ago and I never heard back. At the time, that was really my best and last idea, so I dropped the search for a while and just picked it up again recently. Essentially, I did another all-around search, thinking I'd come up empty-handed. And I did. I just couldn't believe that with everything on that LinkedIn page, there was nothing I could use to get in touch with him. But it was in this moment of desperation when my eyes wandered to the most obscure part of the page, the URL. What was so strange about this URL is that it wasn't the usual jumble of numbers that most LinkedIn accounts use. It was actually a phrase. RunLeeRun0908. An incredible piece of information. I took a guess and assumed it was some kind of username, perhaps a personal catchphrase that he's used for years. It was worth a shot. I did a Google search using this name, and up popped 2 final results. The first one was an email address from a Pontiac car forum dated 2011. Naturally, I was really skeptical of this not only being him, but also if he even still used this address at all. It was definitely worth a shot though, so I emailed it and the message actually was delivered. Unfortunately, I waited a month and a half for a reply, only to never receive anything back. And that turns our attention to the final form of contact, his Instagram page. I could clearly tell this was the guy I was looking for. But of course there was a problem. This account hadn't been used in more than a year, and it didn't even have many posts on it to begin with. Though I still decided a message was worth a shot, only to wait another 3 weeks for nothing in reply. It doesn't even say he saw the message to begin with, so this account could be abandoned. Much later on I ended up finding his Facebook profile too, but it hasn't been touched since 2013 and has almost nothing on it. At the end of the day, that's as far as I was able to get in regards to any kind of answer about this contest. I figured going directly to one of the marketers behind the whole thing was the best idea in getting results, but aside from the fact that he's just nowhere to be found, there's honestly a chance he might not know anything to begin with. This contest is over 20 years old, and clearly there's next to no documentation about it at all. I'd say maybe the best chance of finding the winner is for them to stumble on this video and prove that they won the contest. And I'd really like to know which manual the winner received credit in, as if to give some more meaning and historical value to something as seemingly minor or discarded as a game manual. But until that happens, or really anything more can come from this contest, it'll definitely remain a mystery.